Welcome, everyone, to the Wednesday Edge Mastermind call. My name is Desiree Mangandog. I appreciate you all coming on. I apologize for the technical difficulties that happened, but we figured it out within 3 minutes, so that was great. So it was Janet Marquez was supposed to moderate the call today, but she's at the fair with her kids and didn't think she would have enough time and it'd be noisy and so forth. So I wanted to carry out the topic that she had planned to discuss today, and her topic is overcoming disappointment. So I'm sure everybody who has built doTERRA comes across this issue. It's super common. Things like people not showing up to classes when you anticipated like 8 people to come and only 1 shows up, right? Those situations. People saying that they're going to build the business and then they get really pumped for a bit and then they fizzle out. People not building as fast as you anticipated. They said they wanted to run with you, but they're like not enrolling anybody. Those kinds of things. People not showing up to trainings and calls and so forth. So, and then I think all across the board, many of you are experiencing that right now because it's summertime. And it's true, there are more people out on vacation and a little bit more flaky at this time of year. But now that I think some kids are in school now, so people are settling into a better routine. So yeah, I just wanted to open that up to the mastermind. What tools have you used to overcome disappointments? Because, you know, it can be very discouraging. And for some people who start the business, when they get discouraged that way, they just quit. They just stop. But obviously, you know, all of you platinums and above, despite those, you've pushed through and found success, you know, right at the end. So please go ahead and speak up. Rod is moderating it. So, Rod, you got it all covered. I have no clue who's raising hands and who's on the call at this point. But, yes, please open up to the mastermind. How do you personally overcome disappointments? How do you manage that for yourself? And then even guiding your team members to cruise through these disappointments that are inevitable.
Desiree, Janet Marquez has her hand raised.
Okay, Janet. Go ahead, Janet.
Awesome. Desiree, thank you so much for helping me out with this call today. I love this topic because it's inevitable. Like, it's inevitable that as you do anything big or different with your life, you're going to come across moments that are tough. You know, anything worth it is going to be tough. And the thing that's really cool is that when you when that's not a surprise, like when you can be able to look at it and say, oh yeah, I did Diamond Club and didn't hit my goal, or I lost a builder, or things like that, and just know that that's just part of the journey. I know that it makes it easier because you realize that you're not all alone. Like that's just, I like to think of it as like when you're on the road to success, and there's rocks on the road, like, and you can recognize them as rocks, but that's all they are, then you just realize it's part of the road. Even if a big old boulder falls down, you can realize I'm still on the road, I'm still headed in the right direction. So that is what I feel in that regard.
So when you are mentoring new builders, is that something you do go over, you know, before, for example, them setting their first class and so forth, just to not be so disappointed if people don't show up, that's part of the process?
Yeah, so something that I do in any business overview or anything like that is that's something I do point out. But I feel like the transitional times when they are going through that hard time and they are saying, oh, I thought it was going to be different, or I thought it was going to be this or that, you can say, oh, yeah, I get it. I understand. Like, you're on the right road, though. Like, this is all part of the journey. And giving them some oil suggestions to try to help push them through that point. And giving them, sometimes just a listening ear that says, yep, I get it. I'm proud of you or things like that. That's kind of how I maneuver it. So yeah, I do bring it up in the beginning, but I think it really hits home when people actually have the experience where they hit the wall.
Yeah, and I taught a class in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago, and she had anticipated like 7 or 8 people showing up because I drove 3 hours to teach the class, and it ended up being like 2 people showing up, and then of course it was their first class too, and it was interesting because at first, at the beginning of the class, she was like, I'm just so sorry. These people aren't showing up. I'm so sorry they cancel. I'm like, honey, it's fine. That's just how it goes. I mean, the fact that you have 2 people is incredible. It's amazing. And anyways, you just need to see the class for the first time. You haven't seen the class for the first time. And then by the end, because after 30 minutes of teaching the TerraPad, then we just kind of sat around and talked. And after the 2 people that left, they were like, I'm so glad that there were only 2 people because if there would have been more, it would have been chaotic. And I kind of set that expectation with people, especially when they're like, they teach their first class or host their first class, they have this grand expectation of having like 15 people over. And I always kind of plant that seed, guys, like 2 to 5, that's great. 2 to 5 is great. And trust me, there's a lot that happens in a class of just 2 to 5 people. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of questions. And so I always let them know not to get discouraged if all the people don't come, because many times the more intimate it is, the more effective the class is. Just another tip in there. Anybody else? Anyone else have a comment on how to overcome disappointments? Norma Strange has her hand raised. So if Rod, you can unmute Norma.
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So, I ran across, and whether or not you like this speaker or not, don't just kind of suspend your judgment, because the minute I say this person, people are going to be like, I like her or I don't like her. Susie Orman spoke about when she came to book signings and only like 1 or 2 people appeared. So, I mean, she's, whether you agree with her financial principles or not, I'm not promoting her. I really don't necessarily agree with her financial principles. But my point in saying that is that she would show up at book signings and no one was there. And nobody really ever thinks about the roadmap for people who become famous or become, we see them on, financial networks and speaking in groups and all that kind of stuff. They never think about what it takes to get there. But I find when I'm working with people, to let them understand that if they're there, then I'm excited to be there. If they get a guest there or not, it really doesn't matter, because I can always utilize that time to develop the relationship with someone who's excited about oils and learning about oils and envisioning their future. And so it's really important for them to understand that the goal is to find out who in their contact list is open to learning, not worry about whether or not the schedule has yet worked or not, because the schedule will work as the schedule works. I've had people put me off 6 and 8 times, and normally, people would give up at that point, and I'll pull it away. I'll say, look, to my friend, I'll say, it's okay if you don't want to learn about this. It's okay if essential oils and your wellness is not important to you. I just needed to make sure and ask you and offer it to you because you're important to me. And then that person will come back around and go, no, I really want to meet. I really need to get this in my family. And they'll make a way to get there. But sometimes their behavior doesn't mean anything. It's just that they're in the garbage disposal of life, going round and round and round, and they're getting chewed up by everything, which, of course, oils could help them with. So, I'm in agreement with the last comment. Use oils to help people move their own physical vibration, and then use every opportunity to inspire and to connect and deepen that relationship with yourself, the oils, and the people that will show up or be around you. And if I get to a place where there's no one there, if I've got an open house kind of an event, then I will use that time while I'm there to use oils for myself. Look around, see if anybody's interested in making eye contact or talking in that environment, and then also use that as a time to connect and let people know that you're available for a phone call or for them to stop by and get a sample from you at that location. So So it's never a waste. It's just about whether or not you judge that you're a failure immediately if no one shows up to your party. But I guess, Desiree, I had a birthday party because my birthday's on Christmas, and I had a birthday party when I was little, and it was devastating when no one could come to my birthday party because it was too close to the Christmas holiday. So ever since then, we always moved my birthday party to the beginning of December, so maybe I already went through that embarrassment of having a party and no one shows up. So I guess after we do it once, we're okay, right? You know, it's like once you've done that, you're like, yeah, it's no big deal.
Right, exactly. And, you know, it's awesome. You're flexible, and I love your attitude about it because when somebody doesn't show up, that's not wasted time whatsoever. It's how we perceive things, right? Is the glass half empty or is it half full? And I've had some amazing moments with my new builders or, you know, our leaders when the people didn't show up. And it was almost like, thank goodness nobody showed up, because if they did, we wouldn't have had this breakthrough just now and had that intense conversation. And then from that point forward, people start showing up. And that's the cool thing is, like you were saying, Norma, I love that what matters is that they show up, that your builder shows up, that they're always showing up. Because if you keep doing that, at some point, people are going to pick up on your consistency, and people will start trickling into your classes. Thank you. Those are great points, Norma. I appreciate that.
Hey, Desiree. This is Court.
Yeah, Courtney. Yep, go ahead.
Hey, you know, I got thinking about when the majority of my disappointments happened in my business, you know, throughout this journey. And as I think about it, most of them were in the beginning of, you know, the first couple of years of building the business. And the disappointments were always, not always, but majority of it were because I had really high expectations on other people. And sometimes because of what they would say or do, and other times because of what they wouldn't say or do, but just because I wanted something so bad, right? And so then I would have these high expectations, and then I'd be disappointed when the outcome wasn't what I wanted. And I remember one day I was just so tired of being disappointed all the time in other people, and it was creating just, you know, negative emotions towards, you know, dear friends and things like that. And I just thought, this is ridiculous, you know. And it was in that time that I realized that the disappointment comes when I was putting so much of the desired outcome on someone else's shoulders. So when I started taking, you know, responsibility for my business, I had less disappointment. Do I still get disappointed? I absolutely do. But it's not the same type of disappointment when I take responsibility for it. And so as far as, you know, you asked me the question of what tools do you use, I think you need to take a look at taking responsibility for your business. And when you do that, you don't get as disappointed in other people. And instead, you look at yourself going, okay, I'm not getting the results I wanted. So what can I learn from this, and what can I change? And that's completely different than just being disappointed that people aren't showing up the way you want them to. Because people are going, you're going to attract and repel people according to what you're doing. So if you're not getting the results you're wanting, you're constantly disappointing people around you, you need to look at yourself and see what you're doing and not doing. And so I think that's just really important for us to take that, look at ourselves and be like, why am I disappointing other people? And you'll probably find that it's because you're disappointing yourself in those ways. And so it's time for you to step up your own game.
I love it. I love it. And no person should carry all that weight in your organization. Like, for example, if one leg, you know, your rank depends on it, we can't put all that responsibility on that one person. That's just not fair. We have to continually find other leaders, other builders to make up for whatever is lacking anywhere. And I remember when I first built, I was really excited about my best friend Mary Sisti coming on board, and I don't think she minds if I share this, but we were just gung-ho in the beginning, and all of a sudden she took a 5-month break. I'm like, what are you doing? 5 months is a long time. And it was fine. I loved her where she was at. You know, I was, you know, disappointed for a bit, like a couple days, but then I thought, you know what, that's where she's at. And I have to respect her, and that's fine. And I kept going, and then I found other leaders to work with. So never let, like, one person derail, like, this whole dream of yours, because really, if one person does that for you, then like Courtney's saying, you need to take a look at what's going on within and change something there. So thank you for that. So not having these high expectations on people, depending on what they say or what they don't say or do or not do. Love it. Next we have Melissa Guthrie.
Thank you, Desiree. And
thank you to everyone who's shared so far. I loved all of the comments, and some of the things that I wanted to share kind of dovetail on that. To start with, one of the best programs that I studied and continue to study that helped me to be able to what's called discipline my disappointment is Jim Rohn's audio program on building your network marketing business. And so if anyone has not listened to that, I encourage you, go to jimrohn.com and get it. It's so valuable. I actually buy it in bulk and try to get it out to as many of my builders as possible, because this is something that we all experience. We all experience those emotions as human beings. But Jim Rohn talks about learning to discipline your disappointment. And as he's talking, he kind of alludes to the fact that we're dealing with humans. We're dealing with human nature. And everyone has the freedom to choose. And so as we're building a business and we're engaging with people and we're inviting them to come to classes and to take samples and to enroll and all of that, we have to realize that they've got all their own stuff going on. They've got their own life stuff and mental stuff and emotional stuff that they're working through, and that's not necessarily always a reflection of us. It's their stuff. And so if we can learn to just acknowledge that and go, okay, that person's just going through their stuff right now, I'm going to keep moving forward. We can better deal with what otherwise might have been a disappointment to us. And we have to learn to control what we can control, right? We can control our own personal growth. We can control how we show up as a leader and a builder. We can control how many people we contact, how many samples we can get out, how consistent we are with the right business building activities. That's what we can control, but we can't control what somebody else chooses to do. We can't control if they choose to show up to our class, if they choose to enroll. That's all on their shoulders, like was previously said. And so when we, like Courtney was saying, we understand that expectation, then we don't, our highs aren't so high, our lows aren't so low, the wind doesn't get taken out of our sails. And right now in the book club, we just started Success Principles, and the very first chapter that we're covering right now is taking 100% responsibility for your business or for your life. And so it kind of dovetails on what Courtney was just saying. But one of the things that Jack Canfield talks about is we have events. Events happen all the time in our life. And then we have our response to that event, and that equals our experience or our outcome. So the reality is that the event happens to all of us, whether it's, Rod Richardson, whether it's Melissa Guthrie, whether it's Courtney Moses, whether it's somebody that's just brand new in the business, whether it's Justin Harrison, all of these people have these things happen in the business. So the events happen to all of us, but we all get to choose our response. And depending on what our response is to that event of people not showing up, people not enrolling, people quitting the business, is going to determine our outcome. How come one person deals with the experience, responds in a certain way, and it totally derails them and they're takes the wind out of their sails and they're discouraged? Where another person has the same event happen and they respond in a way that it actually motivates them and encourages them to take more action and to improve themselves or whatnot, right? So it all comes down to how we choose to view and frame the experience and how we respond to it. And within that, I love also what Jim Rohn says, and he says, you know what? It's good to fail. He says, I actually want you to fail because you learn more from failing than you do from winning. And so when we have those discouraging moments, when nobody shows up or people don't enroll or people quit the business,
those are opportunities when we can learn a whole lot more than if it was just smooth sailing the whole time and everybody showed up to classes and everybody enrolled and everybody built the business. What would we learn from that? Right? And so it's part of the grooming process and part of our own growth that's going to help mold us into the strong, powerful leaders that we have the potential to be. All right.
Yeah. I mean, when I look back at, my journey, and every one of us, at this level, we've had some hard times. But when I look back, I'm like, I'm so glad that happened. Because that happened, I am who I am today. Because I shifted because of that difficult event. And I'm just so grateful for that event because I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm more perceptive. It's so important to have the struggles. It's so weird that people walk into doTERRA thinking that there's going to be no struggle. With anything, even going to college, it's not an easy thing all the time, right? There's always going to be a struggle. So if we walk in knowing that there's going to be a learning curve, a growing process, and just be fine with that and enjoy it, really just enjoy that refinement that's happening, then people's attitude can really shift about the struggle. So that was so beautifully said. Did you have anything else to add to that, Melissa?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it was very eloquent. You're a great speaker. Awesome. Next, we have Angie Archibald. Go ahead, Angie.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So your question was, how do we deal with disappointments? And the thought that came to my mind was just how valuable it is when you're having a disappointment like that to realize you're not the only one. And even really, really hard disappointments. I know that sometimes we look through the leadership magazine or we listen to calls and we think that everybody is doing so well and everybody's telling about what's working for them and their successes, and we celebrate all these successes and we think, man, I must really suck because I'm having a hard time. Or, why do I struggle so much or whatever, and we get down on ourselves. But it's so valuable to reach out to maybe you're upline, but maybe not.
Yeah.
It's what's nice about the Edge team is we can connect with each other across the states and even across the world to people that we connect with on a personality level or maybe the stage and age of our life where we are and say, hey, I'm really having a hard time. Have you ever gone through this before? And how are you dealing with that? Or how did you get through it? And to just find friends who can say, absolutely, I went through it and it sucked and it was horrible and I felt all alone and I'm so glad you reached out to me, or whatever. So that has been something that's been really valuable to me, is to reach out.
Yeah, I've seen a lot in my team and other teams that cross-line connections are so valuable because they're going through the similar stages as you, and you just have a bond there that you may not have with your direct upline or downline. So I have found that for emotional support and just and friendships build across lines very deeply. I love Rod's other leaders. I love connecting with them. I talk with them often, and it really it helps me and it helps them. So very beneficial. That's lovely. And and it's similar to what Norma was saying earlier too, that we, celebrate the successes like you were saying, and we have them on the calls and interview them. It sounds like it's so easy for them, and guys, it's not. Like Norma was saying, that people see the fame, right? But they don't see everything that it took to build up to that space. So anyone here who's new and looking at that, why is this so hard for me? Like Angie's saying, why am I not getting this? Guys, we all were there. We all were there. I promise. We had those difficult conversations. I remember when I was silver, and I was exhausted because you guys know silver can be a lot of effort and energy. Okay, and I called Rod. I'm like, Rod, I'm spent. I'm done. I don't know who to talk to. I talk to everybody. I talk so much I lost my voice. And I'm like, I don't know who else. I need more leaders. I need more leaders because I don't think that, it's sustainable. I need more leaders. And I'm like, but I don't know who to talk to. And Rod, he has this cute laugh where he's like, I've been there. I know that. And he just said the simplest thing. And it took me from silver to blue diamond. I'm not kidding you. One phrase. He said, just talk to the next person. I'm like, what? That's it? And it was so, I don't know, maybe it's just who he is and how he says it. It just was so sharp, it hit me. I was like, oh wait, that's it? I just talked to the next person? Man, why am I making this so difficult? It's that simple. So lovely. Thank you, Angie, for the share. And I think a lot of people feel what you were just talking about, especially if you're new building or say you're, at silver or gold. You're just like, why does it seem so hard for me? And just like Angie said, find someone to help you get through the breakthrough. If it's not your upline, then go crossline or go find a different. I know a lot of people love Tiffany Peterson. She works a lot with doTERRA people, especially when it comes to self-care. And Melissa Guthrie, she has her book club. There's just so many resources out there. So rather than asking the question, why is this not working for me, you need to ask a better question, like, what can I do to get through this block? What tools do I need? And watch, the right people, the right tools will just show up in your lap. That's just how the universe works. So, okay, next we're going to go to Lindsay, and then Janet, and then Brianna Hess. So, Lindsay Manukel, go ahead.
Hi. I had something that I just wanted to share, which is kind of something that I've taken from a life lesson and applied it with all the people that I'm working with. And it's the idea of celebrating when a failure comes along. And the reason, just like everybody was saying, it's something that we encourage even with my children. When my daughter comes and she says that this happened to me, I tried this new thing and it didn't work. Instead of being frustrated by the fact that it didn't work, celebrate that you have something to learn from and some direction to go to at this point. So say this summer month, somebody is telling me, I can't get people to come to my classes. Well, let's try something that we might be able to tweak or do something a little bit different, because we can, if we try and we fail from it, what do we have to lose? We're going to learn something along the way. So that's something that, I learned that. I teach that with my children, and I've applied it with everyone on my team, that you're not going to actually fail, because failure is a good thing, because it's something that you can learn from. The only time that you truly fail is when you don't try at all.
Yeah.
So,
amen. That was good.
When you use the excuse of it's not working or something, that's when you're going to fail. Just turn it into something good. We all go through well, crap, nobody came to that class. And what are you going to use that time for? You use that time to talk with the builder or talk with your team or make your samples or figure something out, because heck, I had tons of classes that nobody comes to. It's not something I'm proud of, but it happened. Just turn it into something good.
I love that. Because, have you guys had an instance in your life where it seemed like it was a difficult situation or you just hated going through it, but then when you look back, I'm like, thank goodness that happened. I feel like sometimes people don't understand what failure is, and I love what Lindsay just said, that the only time you truly fail, like really fail, is when you just give up. When you give up, that's probably the time that you fail. But when you're moving through the process of growing, like, is it really failure? Is it? I don't know. Maybe we're perceiving it incorrectly. I'm just getting all philosophical here. So, okay.
I'll join you.
Next, we're going to go to Janet. Janet, what is your comment?
Can you hear me, Desiree?
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So I love every single thing that has been said here. And something that I just want to point out is that, like Courtney had said, like when you're looking at other people and disappointed in others, you'll always get to this place where in order to progress, you have to look to your, like, okay, what could I have done differently? Something that I have noticed along that journey, though, is that when you get to that place of realizing, okay, well, it didn't work out, what could I have done differently? You have two choices. You can go to the place of shame and feel like, well, I can't think of possibly anything I could have I could have worked harder at, or maybe I didn't want to work harder, or, you know, you go to this place of having to look inside yourself and say, and I think everybody do, you go to that next decision of like, okay, how bad do I really want it and why? And that pushes you past the shame of it all and being able to go to a place of what you guys are talking about of like, okay, well, thank goodness for that failure. But the hardest part is being in the failure and having to make that choice of like, okay, yes, I do want it. I want it bad enough for this life. So that's something I would just suggest for anybody who may be in that place of, because that's, at least for me, that's how I've seen it happen. It's disappointment. You first look to others and automatically, natural man, you look to see, well, who screwed up here? And you feel annoyed or mad or frustrated or whatever kind of emotion or hurt even at somebody else. And then the process is, well, then you realize, well, that doesn't do, that makes me a victim. So then you look at yourself and you think, oh, well, I could have done this differently or this differently or this differently. And that's sometimes hard in the fact of, okay, then you have to choose, am I going to be ashamed? And that's what makes you feel like you want to quit. Or am I going to choose what you guys are talking about where you say, thank you so much for that opportunity. What can I learn? And you choose to improve. Man, that's a tough place to be. And I would suggest, Desiree suggests me marjoram. It works great. And in those moments to help you just get through it quickly and find who am I and who am I meant to be and find your new why. Find the next reason why you're going to progress to the next level.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out that concept of shame because that's where people go. They're like, oh, my goodness, people don't like me. Maybe I don't have what it takes. I'm not really good enough to do this. Nobody's going to listen to me. And when you go in that route, oh, my gosh, it takes you to a dark, dark place. So I do want to interject and put some tools in here to address that kind of shame because a lot of people have that. You know, I mean, nobody's alone in that. We all go through seasons of that. So let me give you a little oil combination, okay, to help combat that kind of shame that just takes you to that dark place and makes you just want to quit and give up. If you have a 5 ml roller bottle, 5 ml roller bottle, hopefully you guys are taking notes. I'll give you a second to get your notes out on your phone. We're going to start with bergamot. So do about 8 drops of bergamot, and I'll explain it very briefly. 3 cassia and 5 wild orange. Now, at the Edge Diamond Retreat, Rod asked me to teach a little class on igniting your passion for essential oils. And yes, it is igniting passion for essential oils, but the base of that formula was this combination, bergamot, cassia, and wild orange. So it's really igniting passion for life, for you, for people. And so when you start using this, you will feel actually a tremendous hope. So the bergamot gives a lot of hope and optimism. And you're very excited. You see the bigger picture and you see that light at the end of the tunnel and you're just running towards it. Cassia brings out a lot of self-confidence. It increases your self-esteem. So, and I'll tell you where to put this too. And then wild orange is the oil of abundance, right? So this is great for you to see the opportunity everywhere. Some of us just have these blinders on, like nobody wants oils, nobody wants to work with me, you know, that kind of horrible self-talk, rather than the talk of everybody wants these oils and everybody wants to be on my team. So wild orange is going to shift that way of thinking. And so the way you're going to apply, okay, you're going to apply, I really recommend it on the abdomen. So roll it up and down the middle of the belly. Okay, your solar plexus is the seat of your self-confidence. So putting that on the abdomen will make a huge difference. You could apply it in other areas, but remember there is citrus oils, so don't go tanning in the sun if you apply it where skin is exposed. And you can do that twice a day. And I would project maybe 3 weeks. And you really won't need it after 3 weeks. You will have built up a lot of self-esteem. self-confidence. Cool. So just a little plug in there. Next, we're going to have Brianna. Brianna Hester.
Yeah, I'm here. So I think this is an awesome mastermind so far, and it's one that I'm grateful for. So one of the things that we've found to help us with disappointment, there's a couple different things, and one is to act to help to try and avoid reacting. And what I mean by that is, halfway through the month, right now around this time, oftentimes we see different patterns in our organization, or you can see that something isn't going quite the way that you're wanting it to go, the way that you're hoping it would go, whether that's because we've put too much responsibility on people who weren't ready for it yet, or, for whatever reason. Yeah. And so instead of waiting until the end of the month and saying, oh, well, I didn't meet my goals, now I'm going to have to play catch up next month, I think it's just a constant level of activity and seeing where there's a need and trying to be able to fulfill that need while inspiring and empowering other people. And so that's one thing that we've tried to do is there's always times when you can't avoid being disappointed. Now, constantly being in that state is not a good thing. And that's something that we've learned. However, there's times when it happens, but we have to be able to overcome that and work and say, okay, where did this go wrong and how can I help? And these are things that, have been talked about throughout today, is taking that responsibility for your business. But like I said, instead of waiting until the end of the month, or instead of, you see something starting to go downhill, instead of waiting for it to crash, see if there's anything that you can do. That doesn't mean that you have to do it yourself and do it all on your own. But there's things that we can do to try and help to elevate that and to try and ease that crash at the end. It's just going to put you in a better place at the end of the month. It's going to put you in a better place the next month. And I find that if we start taking it into our own initiative, instead of relying on others, like Courtney said, that disappointment, it's then not there. Then we're looking at ourselves and saying, okay, what can I do to change this situation? So.
Beautiful. I love that. And I think you were talking about having this constant level of activity and on the right activities, obviously. I find, and being in this state too, and even at Silver, you tend to have a lot of people, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, like all these people want your attention. And this is where maturity comes in building your business, is being able to discern and identify, because you're only one person, right? You only have so many hours in a day, especially if you have kids and a husband or a wife. You have to discern where to put your time, where it will yield the most fruit. And when you just do that, oh my goodness, you expand and grow, because we all have done this, all of us, platinums and above, even silvers and golds, really, where we spend so much time on the people who need it rather than deserve it, and because, say, it's a weaker leg, and then we've got all these other people who are really engaged and active, so transfer that time to the people who are engaged and active rather than continually feeding like a dying leg, because that I think puts you more in a cycle of disappointment and sadness and just frustrated and so forth. Instead, just focus where there's activity and then continue to share and enroll other people to maintain a certain rank that you need to. And Rod, I hope he gets to share this. I don't know if he's done this yet, but enroll in a hole. He has this concept where if there's someone who is, the leg is starting to, volume's going down, then find a new person to place underneath a couple levels down below to pump up that volume and focus on that person rather than the one above. Okay, so for some of you new builders in placement, hopefully that makes sense. Awesome. Let's see. Who do we have next? We have Holly Orgel. Hopefully I'm saying your last name right. Go ahead, Holly.
Yes, thanks, Desiree. So I really like the idea of the event plus response equals outcomes, because I feel like looking back on when I've had disappointments, it's always about the story that I've created around the disappointment that has either propelled me forward or held me back. And typically when the story is either like self-criticism or if it's negative about the other person, that's when like those like previous demons come up and it stagnates your activity. You produce a lot of negative energy, and then it's this like super cyclic negative pattern where it's just bad, and you're like, well, why am I not attracting anything great? Well, you're putting out all this negativity. Nobody wants to come and be in your tribe anyways.
Yeah.
And then the opposite of that is when I've had disappointments and I've asked myself the question, well, how can I make this work? That's when I've had huge growth. Like, okay, so my husband isn't super happy I'm doing this. Well, how can I make this work? Or I need to be able to spend more time doing this without, whatever it is, without my kids or whatever problem comes up. How can I make this work? Well, I'm having to go recreate the story of, okay, how can I take responsibility of this? This has nothing to do with the other person. And because of that, I become so much better. My vibe goes much higher and happier, which means that I'm attracting people again because I'm happy and people want to be around happy people. That's kind of what I've learned about disappointment.
I love it. You're talking my language right now. Because, it's interesting. I tell people, okay, some of you may believe this or not, but we are all very interconnected. And so let's say you put on this smiley face, right, this pretend smiley face when you're doing your doTERRA work, okay? You're doing the class, you're happy, doTERRA is amazing, all this stuff. And then you go home, and you're home in your space, you're not on calls, you're not training, you're not mentoring, and you're just like in this funk. You just feel, it is so much work, it's hard, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? You actually don't hide that. Your team still feels that even though you're not actually telling them literally like to their face or on a phone call. They can feel that. So I always encourage everyone to be very hyper aware of their thoughts and their emotions and use our oils. Use the oils. That's why we have oils, guys, to shift you out of that kind of a funk, because it affects your team whether you like put it out in public or not. It affects it. So lovely. Thank you, Holly. All right. So next we have, I don't have a name, a 989 area code ending in 5678. Who is this?
This is Emmy Lou. How are you?
Good.
I apologize I got on late. I didn't know if it was just for diamonds or above, but
no, go ahead.
I'm not doing it yet. But anyway, I just wanted to share in talking about disappointments. The lady that was talking about, I think it was Melissa Jim Rohn. It reminded me, I had the rare opportunity to meet Jim Rohn and actually have lunch with him. I know, it sounds outrageous, but it was awesome.
Oh my goodness. Please talk. I want to hear.
I had to have a picture of it because I didn't believe it myself. But I remember something simple that he talked about. I was building a different business at the time, and he talked about him building his business and trying to get people to fill this huge hotel room. And at the end of the day, he only had 2 people show up in this huge convention room. And it was Mark Hughes, who started Herbalife, and Anthony Robbins.
Wow.
And so that to me was like, it's not about filling a room, because we can fill rooms of maybe people who aren't interested. But what an effect that had. What if he would have given up on just putting 2 people in a room? So I just felt to share that. So I hope that was okay for me to pop in.
Yes. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I just want to meet you because you're at lunch with Jim Rohn. I love that man. Wow. Okay. Beautiful. So I love that. And that goes along with, back to Norma. When we see someone who's successful, we don't take into account what they had to go through to get there. We just see the success. And trust me, success doesn't just happen. There is a process that gets you there. Amazing. So next we have Virginia Hume. Go ahead.
As I find I have a rock in the road that I need to work with, I keep finding the next book to read to figure out the skill I need to do better. Or that you have and others have reached out and shared an idea that just, that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so how do I implement? Which person am I working with that needs this information? And then get on the computer or get on the phone and chit-chat with them. I thought, I just learned this might be useful for you. And to recognize how powerful your influence is, because at times I really haven't gotten that at all. And others, you do have influence. Okay, do. All right, next. I just didn't always compute. It's the oils make the difference, and the counsel we receive, and then applying it for your situation. And we're all walking up the ladder one step at a time. Nobody can jump from one rung 10 rungs up. You have to have had some skills if you have a long reach to do 2 or 3. And I was listening to the clip on the YouTube of David Sterling, and he was being interviewed by somebody, I can't remember his name, but how the process he did with everything as he worked towards preparing to be involved with doTERRA, even though he didn't know he was being prepared for that. So it's a process, and we're all going to have to work and be there, work, be persistent, be believing, and do it. And we've been so blessed for Rod and Seth and others to put things together for us we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just need to be consistent with what we've been given.
Yeah. Yes, that consistency, even though you get a huge room and only 2 people show up. You just keep going. Love this. And Virginia, I love how you were talking about, finding the next book to read. I have found this, that when you put it out there, and who was it Holly? Holly was saying the question, a better question rather than why is this not working? The question was, how can I make this work? Tony Robbins teaches you, if you ever listen to him, that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. And so when you say, how can I make this work? What do I need to learn? Who am I supposed to learn from? You just put it out there. And you put that intention out there, and watch, 30 minutes later, your friend will message you, like, oh my goodness, have you heard about this book? You need to read this book.
I'm finishing reading The Obstacle is the Way. I said it right. By Ryan Holiday. I said it. Anyway, it has helped me. It's a little nuggets every day. And a lot of it I already knew, but just the way he put it in words, okay, yeah, I'm doing that right. Oh, I need to work over here a little better. But I know as soon as I'm through with that, then someone else I'm going to be led to the next one to read, because knowledge means I can make better choices because I have a repertoire of ideas I didn't have before.
Wow, yes. Perfectly said. Oh, you have to seek out other tools, guys. You have to be proactive and find this, because it's all out there, right, Virginia? It's all out there. It's just
absolutely. You have to be ready, and you have to want it, and you have to ask for it. Because if you're choosing to be humble and teachable, and we're taught as a doTERRA leader, we are to be a servant leader. And servant leaders have those characteristics. They're bold and they're confident and they keep at it. And but you also are sensitive to know when so-and-so needs that special help in a particular way, so that you can build confidence in the person who's just beginning and struggling, that they can overcome their rock or see how to go around it.
Right. Confidence in them. And when you build here's the thing, when you build confidence in yourself and you overcome this, you can easily guide others too. So if you are not dealing with it yourself, it's going to be hard to project that out into your business and your leaders. Amazing. Thank you, Virginia. And next, we have Seth's resume. Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, hey, I just, couple thoughts. First of all, whenever you look at people who are succeeding or not succeeding in doTERRA or whatever, I think what I've seen over and over again is that the personal growth either had to happen before got to doTERRA or during their journey in doTERRA, but the personal growth has to take place. And so when you see people that do things pretty quickly, that are succeeding maybe at a faster rate than you did, or that you'd like to, or whatever, what you have to realize is that their life prepared them, that they just went through a lot more hard things early, as far as their business experience. They failed more than you. They failed enough times that when they got to doTERRA, they learned from a lot of those failures. And so it really is important to embrace the journey because whether someone grew before or during their doTERRA journey, they still had to grow, and that growth is always painful. And the second thing I wanted to say is that while you're doing this, there are some things, while you're growing through these different hard things, what I've noticed is that the people who are having the rough experiences, it's how they approach those experiences and how they really just don't care. Like, okay, let me give it to you this way. Belief is so important. Like, if a person believes they're going to succeed in this, like truly believes that this is the answer for them, then if they have a hard experience, it's like, okay, so let's say that you were going to be Blue Diamond, period. Let's say you were going to be Presidential Diamond, and that it was just a matter of time. And if you kept living the 631 success schedule, in 5 years you were going to be Presidential Diamond. And that was a guarantee to you that if you lived the 631 perfectly, that in a 5-year period of time you would be Presidential Diamond, no matter what. Well, if that is the case, and I believe that it is, then if you have a class and nobody comes, so what? If you have a builder that quits on you, so? I mean, okay, this was harder than you thought it would be. Okay. So what? I mean, it's like if you knew you were going to succeed, how would you be impacted by what's happening to you? And like, for example, if you knew the person that you were going to talk to next was going to say yes, how would you approach that conversation? There's just different questions you can ask yourself that help you approach the same things that are happening to all of us in a way that those things would be a success. And for example, whenever I would go show up to a no-show, I would always ask myself, how can this experience be better than the one I was anticipating? And just ask the question and let your mind reveal to you how that event it was better than you had hoped it would be. Like, I wanted to go and have 10, 20 people in the class. But now it's not that. How can it be better? And you can go, I guess I'm supposed to spend some one-on-one time with this leader, which is better than teaching a bunch of strangers, right? And so my point is that I think that the people who succeed in this have they've just learned how to deal with the adversity that's happening in a way that is productive because they're asking themselves the right questions. So when crap happens, they don't go, it's like they don't go straight to defeat mode. This will never work. It's just being willing to ask the question, how can this be better than I was anticipating? What lesson is there in this for me so that I can grow? And just kind of expect that the growth is going to happen, but the destination is so worth it that if you truly believe that is a destination for you, then it's like, okay, I mean, we've all had no-shows. We've all had people quit on us. We had things that we didn't like happen. And you just kind of go, well, that sucks, but I'm really grateful that where this is leading is going to be so awesome. It's like, I don't feel like it's a price I'm not willing to pay. Anyway, I'm done talking.
Yeah. No, that's lovely. That's lovely. I love that question. That's such a great thing to ask. So whenever you feel disappointment coming on, guys, it's how can this experience be better than what I was anticipating? And then the other question that Holly was saying, how can I make this work? So maybe write those questions down. So if you find yourself, going in that rabbit hole, just pop this question out and ask yourself this. And it's right, like Seth was saying, that when you put that question in your brain, or just say it out loud, just read the question and say it out loud, it's interesting. Your mind starts to look for the answer. So kind of like when you purchase a brand new red car. All of a sudden, when you're driving on the road, you see every single red car in your path. But prior to the purchase of the red car, you never noticed red cars. I mean, who knows how many were on the road as you're driving. But when you are intentional about asking that question, your brain starts to look for answers. And I think, in all honesty, that's more of a divine thing. I think that's like the spirit just giving you the answers in that space. Once if you ask, you shall receive. So just try it. It doesn't take much effort to ask yourself, how can this experience be better than what I was anticipating? It's not that hard, guys. Awesome. This is an awesome call. I wanted to just recap on a couple of the tools that people have mentioned. Melissa Guthrie talked about it's a DVD, or actually it's a CD, audio CD, I believe. It was actually on YouTube as well, is how to build your network marketing business, or is it building your network marketing business? Hold on, I'm looking for where I wrote. Yes, building your network marketing business. So I know it's on YouTube because my husband and I watch it, but you could also buy the CD. And when I first started building doTERRA, I also did what she did, was share that CD with people so people could listen to it on their drives and so forth. It's amazing. It's only an hour. Amazing. And the person who created that is Jim Rohn. I would read everything Jim Rohn if you can, R-O-H-N. And Melissa also mentioned Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I haven't read it yet, and I have the book, so that just put it on the map for me. So thank you for that, Melissa. And then Virginia mentioned another book, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holloway. Hopefully I said that right. But I got the title, The Obstacle is the Way. So there's some excellent tools for you to just pick them up, listen, read, and you might pick up a huge nugget. And I'm amazed. Like when I read a book, I'm sure you've all had this, you'll have an aha moment, something will click, and then you just teach it to everyone around you. So please take the time to improve yourself. Read those books, listen to the audios. Anyone else have a comment before we close the mastermind? No? Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and have a wonderful week.